For those of you who are not familiar with Cascade, just to run you by a couple of things that we do, we focus on cloud migrations and on cloud technologies. We migrate companies to the cloud, save them costs and hassle in that process. Once we've migrated you, we offer cloud managed service for you so that you don't have to hassle about your IT and you can focus on your business. We cost optimize those environments, ensuring that we are continuously trying to drive costs down for you in the process. And then advanced services like artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, blockchain technology, and of course the applications that drive your business, the advanced technologies for application performance monitoring fall within that realm as well. So the partnerships that we have, we're an AWS consulting partner. We use RiverMeadow for cloud migrations, AlertLogic, Cloud Health in terms of understanding your cloud environments, Rubrik for your data, and today's topic, which is around New Relic for application performance monitoring and that critical component of understanding the user experience in your business. An example of some of the customers that we deal with, you can see on your screen at the moment. So we've got many, many customers and many solutions that we've worked with over the period as well. So today we're speaking about New Relic, and New Relic is an application performance monitoring suite. And we're going to be covering the 10 killer uses of New Relic for modern SMB software teams. There is, every time we speak to a customer and we ask them about the frustration of actually understanding what their user experience, the end user experience is like. A lot of them don't even know what that experience is like. When something goes wrong, they typically find out by a user telling them, oh, your systems are down or your systems are slow. And that's the first they hear of it. And then they've got to go in through the process of trying to find out what is wrong. So today I am joined by Al Williams, and welcome Al, and thanks for joining us. And Al is the regional sales leader for New Relic for the Middle East and Africa region, as well as Central and Eastern Europe. Al is also an executive and life coach, so we won't be going into any of that today, unfortunately, but Al, I think we're going to have to get you on the webinar at another time to discuss executive and life coaching, which is a fascinating area as well. So I am going to be handing over to Al, who is going to take us through the presentation on New Relic and the 10 killer uses. So just bear with me while we swap around presenters.
Perfect. Thanks for that intro, Kevin.
Great, Al, and you are now in charge.
Perfect. So let me move this, show my screen, move this, and we're up. Can I just check that you can see my screen?
We can see, all good.
Perfect. So thanks very much, Kevin, and thanks everyone for joining. So we're talking today about 10 killer uses of New Relic for modern SMB software teams. And let me just jump in. So there's a research that was done recently that stated that about half of the global economy will move to digital. Just in your own heads, can you take a guess by when? Some may be thinking 5 years, some may be thinking 10. It actually says 2. So if you guess 2, then give yourself a pat on your back. So it says half of the global economy will be moving to digital in the next 2 years. And what does that mean? That means that for a lot of companies now, SMBs, that provides both a huge opportunity, but a huge challenge as well. And that challenge and that opportunity is being driven by what your customers are expecting. So if any of you go onto an e-commerce site, or you are accessing your bank account or anything through your mobile or any type of digital platform, the expectation over the last few years has increased dramatically. If things are taking 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 10 seconds to load a page, for example, then you lose interest. You are already looking for where else can you go to get a better experience, and therefore some customers are capturing business from others who are not meeting up to the customer's demand or their consumer's demand. So the world is expecting more perfect software. They're expecting that when they go to a web page or when they go to their mobile devices, that they are able to access things quickly and the experience is flawless. And what we are finding is that for a number of modern software teams, SMB software teams, it's that for a number of them, they are in a sense playing multiple roles. So one person will be doing different roles. Maybe the developer is also doing system admin, doing databases as well. For a lot, there's a high focus on customer experience. Many haven't yet identified how they can actually understand that user experience from end to end. But that is a high focus because they are competing against, in many cases, larger businesses or other nimble, smaller organizations. Many are also trying to avoid revenue leakage, and that could be in the case of SLAs, so service level agreements that they have with potentially larger customers or other businesses, or if it's an e-commerce where customers are leaving your site and going to somebody else to complete their transactions. Many are trying to make sure that they're capturing as much as possible and not giving away money because of service failures. Interestingly, talent is coming up a lot on our radar these days because nobody, as far as I'm aware, wants to go to work just to be fixing bugs and always putting out fires. What they're looking to do is to hire top talent, but also to retain them by providing them the tools that they need, providing them the environment that they need, that they can really begin to drive innovation, build new things, and move the business forward. For many, there's a struggle to manage their time effectively, but also to prioritize. So they're not sure, where do I invest my time to get the most return? And constantly we're coming across conversations where customers are spending a huge amount of their time trying to put out fires or misaligning their priorities and therefore burning through their resources pretty quickly. Many are expecting about a 3 to 5x ROI on their investments. So for every 1 Rand spent, they're expecting back 3 to 5 Rand in return. So they're very careful in terms of how they spend their money. A desire to move faster. So the way that technology market is moving, the industries are moving, whether it be banking, whether it be e-commerce, whether it be B2B service delivery, everybody's looking to move faster. They're looking to deploy software quicker, deploy code quicker, and to get things to market in a much quicker time, because that is the competitive advantage. Now, if you agree or disagree with any of these, feel free to post in the chat. I am happy to be challenged, but these are the things that we're coming across in a number of our SMB customers. I'm going to touch on just how New Relic then begins to help to address and tackle some of these concerns for our SMB software teams. So New Relic, it's really easy to set up, giving you real-time instrumentation analytics. And I'm going to talk a bit more through this as we go through the presentation. Instrumentation and dashboarding, giving engineers a lot more that they can work with, and that's through our New Relic Applied Intelligence that's built into the New Relic platform. So giving suggestions around where engineers should potentially either look for issues or where they should potentially start the investigation. Full stack visibility, that's around correlating application performance to end user experience. So New Relic in itself is a full platform end to end, from the infrastructure layer up to the real user monitoring layer, where you can really understand the experience of your customers as they're interacting with your software. And then connects application and infrastructure performance. That's going back to the full stack visibility, transaction data, real-time error analysis, on-demand diagnostic tools. We integrate really well with a number of more popular solutions, but the good thing is that we also have an open API, which means that if there are other tools that you like to pull data from into New Relic or vice versa, you can do so as well. We do support all clouds, AWS will be our biggest partner so far with regards to the cloud, but we do support all clouds. And in terms of the New Relic platform, we're built in the cloud, and therefore we're built to scale. So let me just jump into this real quickly, kind of taking a look at the flow from historics into where we're seeing a number of new technologies emerging. So from the old client servers into where a lot of customers they had to go on premise because there was no cloud 30 years ago. So your own data servers is where they store their data. But then New Relic came around back in 2008 and brought APM into the cloud. So we're born in the cloud, pure SaaS. We established a segment. We're leaders in the segment. And where we look to partners like Cascade is to where we're seeing now where a lot more customers are taking on newer technologies. So we call it observability. It's not a widely used term. It's probably driven by the States, but observability is around how do you both monitor, manage, and make decisions on newer technologies that are being introduced. So Kubernetes, whether it be the cloud microservices, logs, traces, serverless computing, it's about having full insight into what's happening into your environment. And with this increased complexity comes an increase in points of failure. So therefore, many of our customers are looking to New Relic and to our partners like Cascade to really help them to, while they're moving into these newer technologies, trying to be more agile, trying to move faster, but having the right tools to help them get there and to help them manage that on an ongoing basis. And customers benefit from New Relic. And remember, we're talking about the 10 benefits. So we're talking about moving faster. The instrumentation, it's really quick. So it'd probably take a minute to deploy a New Relic agent and start getting information through. So out of the box, deploy, and we have support about 8 different languages now. But really instant, you deploy the agent and you start collecting information. It auto instruments a number of your applications, or if it's the infrastructure agent as well, start pulling information in a minute or less. Really application centric. So where historically a lot of our customers are focusing on network monitoring and looking at other types of infrastructure, when you're talking about servers and CPUs, we took an approach where we're looking more around the full cycle of what your customers would be experiencing. So whereas infrastructure integrating with APM, integrated into the real user monitoring, we're looking at the full experience of your customers, whether it be an end user trying to make a purchase on your website or accessing their account, or another business that needs to do transactions via your platform. We take an application-centric approach and we instrument so that you can get that visibility. Highly curated, which means out of the box, dashboards are built instantly. In many cases, you can extend the use of New Relic, which means it's fully flexible. You mentioned, you remember on one of the points around flexibility in extending the use of the platform by adding your own custom instrumentation or custom events. You can pull your own data in, but it really comes with about 80% of what you could require out of the box. Real-time analytics, which means if you know other solutions, typically there is a lag in terms of data. Could be 24 hours. For some, it could be a few hours. Ours is real-time data that you can use to make those key decisions. And we talk about massive scale. So how can an SMB begin to really take on more? And as you grow, we grow along with you. We support a number of enterprises, small, medium, large. So although we're built for the enterprise, we are able to, most of our customers are SMBs anyway. So we take them on really early and we help them build good software and scale their solutions as well. So this is just an example where we're seeing 46 times more code deployments, faster lead time to deploy, lower change failure. And if you've gone through any type of configuration changes, you know that most failures come from configuration changes. So you deploy something, then it breaks, and then sometimes it's hard to find out what is the reason for that break. So what we help our SMB customers to do is really to do more with less. So for a small team, you can increase your number of deployments on a weekly basis, on an annual basis. We get you to market quicker, and then the failure points are reduced throughout that process, which means that you can get started quickly, you can move quickly, you can serve your customers in a much more effective way, but then you avoid any types of knock-on effect in terms of SLAs or poor brand recognition for your service that you're providing to your customers as well. So enterprise grade solutions for the SMB market is the way that I look at that. But then it's also about how do we give you insights for yourself and your team. So we look at software and deploying software, building software as a team sport. So whereas you are potentially having just one part of that process, what we do is we look at the full experience of your customers. So we can give yourself, your team members, one platform where they can begin to understand the end-to-end process from when your marketing team sends, or you could start from when you actually build the software, then you have to market it. And then what does that flow look like from marketing going to market to where a lead comes in or somebody's coming onto your platform to access your platform, to where the customer is going through that life cycle of making a process or that other flow of making a purchase or doing a transaction on your platform. We have one platform where your team can access that. And why is that important? Because if you're using many different tools, or if you are, if different teams are using different tools, then your mean time to resolution, if there are issues, is much slower than if you have one platform where everyone is accessing the same information. Different views for different people, but it is the same information, which means that you can really begin to fix issues a lot quicker. You can understand the end user experience. You can understand where you are with your code deployments. For a lot of our customers, they're also running sprint cycles, normally over 2 weeks to get to market quicker, to deploy code quicker. The points of failure throughout that sprint cycle are much less, which means that you can really stick to that 2 week cycle if that's what you if that's how you work. A lot more agile around that process, but then also linking that back to business outcomes, because ultimately we build software, but there's an outcome that we're looking for: serving our customers, growing your business, retaining your customers, and then building that good brand reputation about your service delivery. And this is just an example of where we talk about really full stack, extending the use of the platform, linking your infrastructure, really getting that full visibility. This is just one of our dashboards that we put together, and this talks about the full stack. So what you're looking at here is APM and infrastructure information here, kind of understanding the impact of the server usage on your application performance. And it can be by application, you can look at regions, you can look at the different types of errors that you're encountering. What does that process look like? And this is having one view of your infrastructure layer up to your APM layer. And it can even go down into where you're understanding your page load speed and understanding the real user monitoring, the end user experience as they're accessing your platform. But what you're doing is you're tying in that full process, that full visibility from your infrastructure layer, from your database into your application, the transaction times, the error, the response times, the throughput, and understanding all of that back to where, what is the end user experiencing, that be by the device type or browser type. And we pull all these metrics out of the box in many cases for many of our SMB customers, which means that they can really understand how they're serving their customers. They can begin to understand how do they prioritize what errors, what code deploys to make first, and then they can better manage their resources to get the highest ROI possible. And as one of the points from the 10 points was around integrations. So we do integrate with a number of cloud services, but also DevOps and deployment tools as well. And this is just some of them that we integrate with and that we partner with. And if you want to find out more, you can have a chat with Cascade as well. and they would guide you through that process in terms of how, if I'm using PagerDuty or some AWS services, how can I get started? So we do support AWS in terms of integrations for a number of their services, and they are quite a lot. They keep on reading them out every few weeks or so. But we do try to keep pace with all of the services that they are deploying on their platform. I think the most recent ones would be serverless, which we do support as well. So we pull all those metrics into New Relic, and then we enrich that data by providing contextual information, whether it be from the application layer, the infrastructure layer, or from the front end, where we're pulling those real user metrics in as well, and correlating that data so you have richer insights into how you're either building software or deploying software. And there's something for everybody. So we have the CTOs, which would potentially want to understand, how is my business performing? How are my deploys going? More from a higher view, a high level perspective, understanding what is the performance over time. And we can build those dashboards, we can give that insight. For the person who might be we have a prover there, that would be somebody like who's a project manager, or project lead, or a program manager, that's slightly more interested in terms of how are the projects going. So for example, we have a customer, a Cascade might be a good example as well, but we have customers who they're building and deploying software. And for example, one of the use cases that we found was that they were able to increase the amount or the number of websites that they were deploying on a weekly basis. So they're able to build more using the same team. They're able to build more and complete projects in a quicker time. So they're able to take on more projects, thereby increasing their revenue, increasing their output, without having to increase resources, just by using New Relic. So when you can understand how you can leverage data, leverage that information to build better software, you can stick to project times a lot, and even deliver before a lot quicker than the expected time, which means they're able to get more done. For all the customers, what they want to understand is when we do deliver software, how is it performing over time? Because they need to provide information to their customers or their stakeholders around how the uptime of the software or the performance of the software over time, because those are built in their service level agreements. For the ops professional, it's about keeping the lights on. If something happens, if something breaks, how can I be alerted and how can I prioritize? Who do I go to, for example, that can tell me what went wrong and how can we get it fixed as quickly as possible? So it's about either preventing problems, or if they do occur, how do I get them resolved as quickly as possible, keeping the lights on, keeping our infrastructure healthy, and ensuring as well that the teams are communicating as effectively as possible across development, or whether it be a sysadmin or a database administrator, but back to the business as well, tying the pieces together and ensuring that that communication is flawless. The data can be trusted, which means one source of data, and that everything is validated in a sense that if we find out that that is the issue, we're sure that that is the issue and we can get it resolved as quickly as possible. And for the developer, it's about spending less time trying to find bugs and really beginning to build good software, new features, and ensuring that the build itself is as seamless as possible. So identifying, for many of our customers, they do instrument even from the build phase. So that pre-production, that staging phase, understanding the build cycle, getting data throughout that build. And then when it goes into production, then they also monitor that as well to ensure that everything is working as it should. So different use cases for different members of the team, but one source of data, one source of truth, one single pane of glass by which the entire team can really understand their digital business and drive business results. And this is the New Relic platform. So here we have the infrastructure layer. That's where we are pulling in some metrics from our AWS platform, to the application layer, which is where most companies are focusing on now, in terms of ensuring that their applications are serving their customers' needs, but then understanding the end user requirements. So mobile, browser, synthetics monitoring. Mobile is where we have the native apps, so Android and iOS. Browser is where it could be a browser mobile or on your desktop, understanding that real user experience, page load speeds, where you may have JavaScript errors or AJAX calls, single page apps, understanding what the experience is and giving you insight as well through the applied intelligence in terms of what could I tweak to increase my page load speeds. Understanding as well, for example, in South Africa, where you may go to different places and the network speeds can vary depending on where you are, we can help you to understand, is it a browser issue, is it a network issue, or what type of browser is being used that could be impacting performance, and how can I then ensure that if I have enough customers using an older browser, how can I ensure that I'm building my software or my application, or optimizing my application to ensure that when they do go onto my website or accessing my software, even from an older browser, that they are getting the optimal experience possible. Synthetics is more around, we call that sort of proactive monitoring, where you're sending robots out to check whether or not either sites are up, or you could do a scripted browser check to understand a consumer flow on your website. So that follows a script and going through that process of a customer accessing your software and the steps that they're going through and the potential failure points on your software so you can address it before they do. The cost of a call coming in from a customer can be avoided just by understanding before the issue happens, or at least getting ahead of it for your customers, because the last thing you want is your customer reporting an issue to you. You could have got ahead of that and even sent out a message that we are aware of this issue, we're working on it. That could deflect a number of calls coming in or emails coming in, which puts more pressure on your business. And remember, we said time, resources, personnel, that is a key part of deflecting and ensuring that you're running a smooth operation. And then on the top, we have the dashboards, we have the alerts, metric events, maps, and all of this ties back into how can you get visibility into what's happening across your digital business with less resources. So by having all of this tied together into one platform, you're able to perform at a more mature level than a typical SMB organization would, because you have the data to hand, you have one source of truth, you can move faster, you can serve your customers better, you can avoid the revenue leakage, but you're able to really begin to drive new innovation, begin to deploy new software, new features to serve your customers better. One of the things that we found working with SMB organizations is that when they're using New Relic, they can even understand for the resources that they're putting into new features, are their customers adopting those features? And then what they could do is look at, if they're not adopting those features, why are we investing resources into deploying some of these features? Maybe we need to scale back and then redirect resources to where we're finding that we're getting better ROI, getting better traction, better engagement, or understanding why aren't those features being adopted, and then seeing whether or not those can be improved. So it's real business outcomes, real business metrics, but technical metrics as well to support business outcomes. And that is it. And finally, so keep in mind, we're born in the cloud, we're built for the cloud. We do support on-premise infrastructures as well, but in a few years, we will hardly find any on-premise infrastructures. But for most SMBs, we're finding that a lot of them are also born in the cloud, and they're looking for a solution that can also support that cloud infrastructure, helping them to move faster with enterprise-grade security and giving them really good insight into how they can move their business forward. And that is what New Relic does for all their customers.
Great. Well, thank you for that information. That was a great explanation, and I hope that everybody got what they need from it. We will be able to take some questions, so if you want to type any questions that you have into the chat pane, please do so. I'll give you a moment to do that, and we will answer some of those questions. So Al, don't drop off yet. I need you for answering some of these questions. Your microphone has gone a little bit quiet, so I think just check that the position hasn't shifted on that.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a question that's come across here, which says, looks like a great product. Is it priced for SMBs?
The short answer is yes. So, and I'm sure Kevin and team can provide more specifics around this, but yes. So we have close to 17,000 customers, and over 15,000 of those customers are in the SMB space, and that could be from 10 up to 100 up to 250 of customers in the SMB space, and that's across all markets. So even in South Africa, we do have some SMB customers using New Relic as well. What we always endeavor to do is to try to be as flexible as possible when we're working with customers. But yes, we are priced for the SMB as well.
Okay, great. Another question here that says, how heavy is the infrastructure tax of the agents that have to be loaded?
It's not heavy at all. It doesn't take up much. I think the number there was between 1 to 2%, if that's what they're referring to. So which means that the load itself, it could even be below 1 as well. So the infrastructure agent itself is quite light. It doesn't take up much at all. The APM would be probably more within that 1 to 3% space. I believe infrastructure is below 1% in terms of the load that it takes on. It really comes down to the infrastructure, how you set up, the size of the instances that you're running as well. If the instances are smaller, then the percentages may vary. If the instances are larger, then that varies as well.
Perfect. Any more questions? I'll just give you a few seconds more. Okay, there's another one here that says, looks like there are lots of tech insights. What about the business insights?
Sure. So we do have, and am I still sharing my screen here?
I can get it back for you. One moment, second.
Yes, we do have business insights as well.
Okay, there you go. You've got your screen back.
Perfect. So what I'll do here, if you don't mind, is just to show you real quickly, rather than talking through, let me show you. When we talk about business metrics, these are some of the things that we can pull as well. Can you see this?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So this would be business metrics. So this would be, I think it's an e-commerce example. So we're looking at here transactions and error codes, things that are happening there. But then what we're looking at also is revenue over day, live users on the website. This is a demo account, by the way, so I'm not showing anybody's information here. It's a demo account, but you can see in one dashboard what's happening in the business as we speak. So users a day over day, live users now, total revenue at risk. So this is where we talk about prioritization here, where not every error that happens or every fault on your site, it's impacting revenue. But what you're able to do then is prioritize what are the errors or that could be impacting revenue, and you can put a dollar sign or a rand sign against this as well. Understand, okay, I definitely need to make sure that I'm addressing those particular errors because it's directly impacting revenue. We can get insight into the cost of errors, duration, website, purchase, funnel conversion. So these are business metrics. So a lot of marketing teams use this as well. CTOs use it, CEOs use it as well. And to understand why is that drop-off rate so high, and then begin their investigations, maybe through their heads of development or development leads, into understanding what's happening, why is this conversion so low, and then begin that root cause analysis and make some decisions around that. So this would be what we consider business metrics, page durations for the last week. It could be by region as well. So we can pull all of these metrics What you would require for this, though, is to make sure that you have that real user monitoring along with APM to pull that information together.
Great. Thanks, Al.
No worries.
Okay, that seems to be all of the questions. So I think everybody who's been on this call can certainly see the need and the benefit of utilizing New Relic, giving you that ability to see exactly what your customer and your end user experience is like, and be able to actually predict that before you have an issue. So you want to be able to sort out those issues. You want to be able to get to the root cause as soon as possible. So Al, thank you so much for joining us on the webinar. Anybody who is listening, or if you're watching this recording and you want to know more, please do get a hold of us at Cascade. Our details will be on the screen right now, so you can mail us at info@cascade.cloud, or give us a call, or interact with us through any of the social media interfaces as well. We would love to do a demo for you. We can set up a POC, and we'd love to discuss further how we can modernize your applications and how we can actually get the monitoring right so that you can get the right experience for